Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pisgah podcast.
We are your hosts. I'm Mangler, and that is Drew, and you are listening to Pisgah. We're coming to you live from the bottom of a sinkhole in Wilson Creek.
Yeah, so we're back from a little break. Sorry for no fresh content, but, we've both been a little bit busy, and it's kind of been a slow news week.
I mean, I guess all that winter got us kind of the opposite of backlog. I mean, wasn't really much going on. Little things here and there, but I mean, pretty much had snow on the ground for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I've seen a couple places around West Asheville that don't get any sun that still have a few snowbanks in it. But, we do have some great news, so a huge thanks to everyone out there and our moms for voting us in the best of the Blue Ridge Outdoors magazine for 2022.
Yeah, man, we are beyond psyched on this and definitely caught us off guard.
Yeah, it means so much to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to you too, that not only do we have the listeners, but we have listeners that care enough to go and vote to make this happen.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
And, with that out of the way, let's get into the news.
So some trails over in what we call the other Pisgah, the Grandpa District, are getting some treatment as of now and coming real soon.
Yeah, so the new Yancey Ridge Trail was completed a little bit ago, and that's been running great. But the Forest Service, in continuing with the Mortimer project, have closed Schoolhouse Trail. That reroute should also be done here in a few months.
And another project, I think it's separate from the Mortimer project, but it's still in Wilson Creek, Holly Springs Trail, which is known to most of us as just simply Sinkhole, will be closing March 1st for some maintenance, and the Forest Service will be installing a grate over the sinkhole.
So if you want to jump your bike over a gaping hole in the ground, get it in before March 1st.
Hey, you remember that time when there was a dirt bike at the bottom of it for what seemed like a couple of months?
No, I don't look down holes.
Well, as far as holes go, we've got one to dive down for this week's episode. I rounded up 3 of Brevard's finest amateur homeless bike packers after they just finished up a big ride down in Florida.
That was the Huracan 300?
Yep, and our event goers are TJ, Rusti, and Regis. You can usually catch 1, 2, or all 3 of them at the hub doing bike stuff.
Or you could catch them on bikepacking bikes doing hub stuff.
Or that too, yes. Thank you guys for joining me. I brought you here because you guys just returned from a pretty epic adventure down in the crazy state of Florida. And it's funny when we living in Western North Carolina go to visit Florida because we always have so many Florida people visiting us here. It's like, come on guys, you gotta share some with us now. So TJ, once you start off, what exactly did you guys go to Florida to do?
We did the Huracan 300, I think is what they call it. It's really 370 miles. Huracan, yeah. It could also Huracan. We've heard it called the Huracan. Carlos Bernhardt is a friend of mine, and he puts on these routes and races down there. He designs all these routes. He's got the Florida Divide, CFIT, which is the Cross Florida Individual Time Trial, and then a bunch of other ones. It does a great job at it. And this was the last one that I needed to do out of the big 3 to get my Triple Crown of Florida for bikepacking. So I invited Regis and Rusti to join me on it this year.
Right on.
And they were like, yes, we'll go.
So it's a bikepacking race? Is that right?
It is a race.
Okay.
Yeah, we went for the event.
Okay. So you guys were in party pace mode versus race mode?
We were definitely in probably the last 3.
Yeah, we were racing the clock.
Yeah, we probably had the most fun. Yeah.
Sounds like you won to me.
Yeah.
Rusty, have you done much bikepacking in Florida?
This is my first bikepacking experience, event, anything in Florida. Yeah, first time riding a bicycle actually in Florida.
Are you serious?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Right on. And Regis, what about yourself?
I've done some road stuff in Florida when road racing was a thing for me, I guess, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
So first off-road Florida stuff, and really did not disappoint.
I love going to Florida in the wintertime to do mountain biking. It'll humble you a little bit because they might not have big elevation there, but they don't have big elevation there, but they have lots of little elevation. And that little elevation will kick your ass a little bit, especially when you're trying to keep moving.
Definitely.
Surprising quantity of everything. Definitely.
So you said it was 370 miles?
Yep.
And what was the elevation?
I think it was like 7,500 feet. Yeah.
Okay.
Not a ton over that span. I mean, you could easily do 7,500 feet in Pisgah in a day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a big Pisgah day, but it's super possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, 7,500 feet in Florida?
Yeah.
It's pretty saucy. So give me an idea of how the route went, like start point and end point.
So we started at the Shangri-La campground, which, if you've heard of Santos before, which I know you've ridden Santos, Santos there's like the Cross Florida Greenway, which runs, they're trying to eventually connect it all the way across Florida. It's not complete yet, but Santos is kind of on the east side of
what's available now.
Right, of the trail network that's there. And then they have all the single track that runs along it. So Shangri-La is probably, what was it like? It was 21 miles of single track from the Santos campground to Shangri-La. But I think if you ride the Greenway, it's probably like 10 miles.
Okay, yeah, because single track snakes around through there a whole bunch.
Right. So we started there and rode counterclockwise. It was counterclockwise this year. So you take off out of there and head west, and then eventually start going south into, you go through like Dunellen, which is like your first store stop, which I got a sweet uncooked Cuban sandwich there.
That was really just ham and cheese.
It really was,
great.
yeah. It was like, they had like this and going on a bikepacking trip, like when you go to these stores, like you're going to eat whatever. Like you're living off like gas station food, and they had pretty good stores down there. But there was like a small, a medium, and a large. It was like a 14-inch sub.
Oh, geez.
And she was like, yeah, you can just grab one. Do you want me to heat it up for you? And I was like, and I said, what's its current state? And she just responded with cold. And I had gone to that gas station before on CFIT, because CFIT goes through there. And I remember it just being amazing Cuban sandwich. Now, I was probably like 80 miles in that day or something, so anything tasted good.
You didn't have the clearest mind of what was good food and what was...
Right, I was like grabbing
was
Red
energy.
Bulls and like a beer and some like Cheetos and a Boon Pie or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever was had the highest caloric value. Yeah, it ended up being like pastrami and like ham and like some government cheese, like American cheese, you know what I mean?
Standard triangle.
Yeah, standard triangles.
Cuban.
All right, so continue on your route. So you stop at this, you're doing a counterclockwise loop that goes west and then starts clocking south.
Yeah.
Do you go all the way out to the coast?
You don't go out all the way out the coast. So at Dunellen, you start turning south.
Okay.
And kind of do this like abandoned neighborhood. You guys remember that like abandoned neighborhood that we went through?
It all looks abandoned.
Yeah. It's
But
like,
it all has fences. There's a lot of fences.
They
and
love their
a lot of
fence.
signs.
right. And you get into Croom, which is like a wildlife management area. And some of the, like, Nico and all them go ride in Croom because there is like a moto area there.
Oh, so
too.
that's the
like,
zone that those dudes go ride moto
Yeah.
in Florida. Okay.
Nico and like Walker and Luca, they were all down there like a week before we went down there riding moto.
Okay.
But this is like a different section
zone.
of Croom.
Mm-hmm.
We got into Croom. I think we camped in Croom, right?
Is that Green Swamp?
That was before Green
That was
Swamp.
before Green Swamp?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
Croom
Lots of
was-
really flowy single track.
Yep. And that techie single
Yeah.
track too.
Yeah, lots of corners. Good
Oh,
corners.
yeah. That was tough on drop bars.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rusty was on. We had all planned on taking drop bar bikes,
Okay.
and my dynamo wasn't working on my drop bar bike, so I switched over to my Wayward, my hardtail. And then he bought a new bike
Yeah,
the
I
day
got it.
before.
Damn it.
Two days before, I had 2 days to set it up, and just found a guy on Craigslist. Happened to have a bike to fit the spacing of the wheels I had at home, and all the bags fit.
That's pretty
Yeah.
much about as run what you brung as you can do. Like,
It was
show up and blow up.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan sent me a picture of you working on it, and I was like, that looks like a bad idea.
All All right, so you start out from the campground, midway across the Ocala Greenway zone, and then I'm looking at Trail Forks here, and then you make your way down through some areas through Central Florida. Was it a lot of horse country in that zone?
Ocala is the big horse area, so kind of south of there, we didn't see as many.
Okay. Not as many horse flies.
Not as many horse flies. Yeah.
All right, so you get over to the Croom track. That looks like a cool little zone. I'm looking on Trail Forks. Like there's a couple of good 10-mile loops and stuff. A lot of green level trails with a couple of blues mixed in.
It's got some techie stuff in there. We came upon these guys on these fat bikes.
The Miami dudes.
The Miami
all
dudes
from South Florida.
Yeah.
Head to toe, couldn't see a piece of skin.
Oh, they were in
sandals and shorts.
They were in what we would wear up here on the coldest day riding.
30-degree leg warmers, arm warmers.
Toe,
jackets.
Shoe covers, and we're Regis and I wore sandals the whole time.
Okay.
And I was in some hand up cut off jorts. And we're all in shorts, and they're just blown away by
They've got shoe covers.
Yeah, they had shoe covers on.
Them NC boys.
But we follow them in, and it's just this kind of crazy. Some of the stuff was pretty techie. Had to walk up. It was also wet when we were riding it, so the sand or the soil down there gets slick when it's wet.
Yeah, especially when it's the packed in sand zones.
Yeah.
Because it has a little bit of clay in there sometimes, and that'll get super greasy.
Yeah.
So you make your way over to Croom, and then where do you go from there? Because looking at the map, I don't see a lot of.
Basically, we start heading south into Green Swamp.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah,
we didn't really start going into it until midway through the second day, and we had to camp the whole night there.
Yep.
Off a really sketchy side road.
That was your first camping spot?
Second night. That was
Okay.
second night.
What was your first stop?
night was in Croom.
Okay.
Just in the middle of single track. We had gone as far as we really wanted to for the day, and
yeah, our first day was 70, maybe right over 70 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just raining. It just started raining that evening, and I think it rained until the morning.
Yep.
So everything's wet, and you just get up and go.
That was the most comfortable night I think we spent. That was the day which the morning routine was most prolonged and comfortable. Needs were met on that morning.
So you guys just slept in a little bit, took your time, got some recharge.
I wouldn't say we slept in, but yeah.
8 o'clock. That's sleeping
8
in.
o'clock, yeah.
For me, when I'm camping, it's when the sun comes up, that's usually when I'm up. And if you make it much past that, that's kind of sleeping in.
I like to be in the tent until I get hot, which wasn't going to happen on this trip.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I guess I should say, the day was it 40 degrees when we left here?
Oh, probably colder.
Yeah.
And we get down there, and it's 85.
85. I mean, we get out of the van to go get lunch, and it's hot. We're in pants and I'm in a long sleeve wool shirt, and it's blazing hot down there.
Yeah, welcome to Florida.
Yeah. But the next day, the high was only 50.
Oh, okay.
So
I remember that. Florida had that little bit of a cold streak.
Yep. So it did get cold, and it was in the low 40s at night.
That's perfect camping weather, though.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Not bad.
So Green Swamp is pretty gnarly to ride through all day because it's kind of rough. Lots of sand roads, and I remember riding on these sand roads and it being this is just climbing Clawhammer. That's how much effort I'm putting out right now for miles.
Oof.
And depending on the moisture, though, it could be, if there was too much rain, it was hard. If it was too dry, though, it was just as hard, and you're just sinking in.
Yeah.
There's different kinds of sand down there. There's sand that gets good when it's wet, and there's sand that gets bad when it's wet.
And you guys are mostly on all the bad sand.
Yeah, we're on all the different kinds of sand.
Yeah.
And then the chatter, I would call them, they're similar to braking bumps, but not as deep from the cars.
Yeah.
It's just you're just getting hammered all day.
The type of bumps that just make bolts come loose on your bike and stuff like that.
Right.
Oh, that's always never fun.
Shaking up all the beer.
So night 2 was in basically just, you guys just plop down in the middle of a trail almost.
Well, if you think of it as a rectangle, Green Swamp is this huge, long rectangle, and half of the second day you're in it, and then you look at the map and you go all the way to the bottom and you exit, and then you take a main road for a couple miles.
A hard road, yeah.
Yeah,
like a
and you
paved
like
road.
cut like due east, and then you head right back into the swamp and head right through the same stuff you went through just a couple miles down the road.
Oh, wow.
We got to the back into it at the entrance, and it's like the sun is setting. It's getting actually. I think we were.
It was
we
setting,
ran. We were
yeah.
like running lights. We were about to run lights, and we get to the gate, and we're like riding through. This lady comes out, and she's like, "Hey, hey, hey!" And so we like turn around and go back to her, and she's like, "You guys gonna make it through? Like, you guys are gonna ride through tonight, right?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure." We had like 2 hours. They closed at 8, and it was 6. She said, "You're gonna make it to 4
Whatever
like,
road.
whatever
Wherever.
road it was,
Yeah, we'll make it to
225 or
427.
yeah, something like that." And like, we were like, "Yeah, sure." And then we're like, "Do you have any water?" And she like hesitated for a minute, and because we were out, I mean, we were almost out. We didn't want to filter a lot of the stuff down there.
Oh,
Black
no.
It's
water.
not like up
Black
here,
water.
you know. So she's like, "Yeah, do you guys have filters?" And we were like, "Yeah." So she like sends us over to where they like clean the animals, like that they shoot. Like that's what
Hogs.
that was, like hogs.
On top of this, this is the last day of a like 3 or 4 day hunt.
Oh, I forgot about
And that's just how
Yeah.
they do the management down there. Is they, I guess, clubs or whoever can sign up for a weekend, and you just pay to hunt on the land.
Yeah, it's, I believe it's like some sort of game land.
Yeah,
And then they have like a once a month or periodic hunt,
yeah.
which we are riding through at the
Dead
time.
in the hunt.
Saw a lot of guys wearing orange,
We got yelled at.
which is kind of good.
Oh, for not wearing orange.
No, because
For
we were
being
in
there.
there.
Oh,
They were like, "You guys shouldn't be in here. Like, do you even have permits?" Which I don't think you had to have permits. I think they were just messing with us. But they're like, "We pay a lot of money for this weekend." Sorry, dude, I'm riding my bike.
talk to me about the route. Because were there other bike packers going through here as well from the event?
Yeah, I think there was 118 signed up.
Okay.
I'm not sure how many were en route. And we were like we were in the back. Like,
You guys were caboosing it.
we were the Red Lantern.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We really didn't pick up till third day.
Yeah.
And started making some passes.
All right. You caught your groove on day 3.
Yeah.
And that was after you spent the night in the Green Swamp?
Yeah, so the second day we did 85 miles. Got out of the Green Swamp into this like wilderness management, this WMA area. Like we camped behind this like scrub bush, like in trees, like
Oh yeah.
so we couldn't be because we weren't 100% sure we were out because I couldn't find that road that lady said on the map.
It's
Oh.
a swamp.
Yeah, it's a swamp. Like there's and so we like set up behind this tree and all these scrub bushes, and like every time a car would come by, we'd like turn our lights off, like when we were like cooking dinner.
And you could tell it was janky cars. They're the rough people coming through the swamp after 10 o'clock at night.
It was
They're
a
just rough
truck.
people.
Yeah,
At any point, it was probably a truck, hot dogging it.
With
Oh,
an
yeah.
exhaust leak.
So some good smells.
yeah. So then we woke up the next day, and that was our biggest day. The third day we did 110 miles.
Oof.
Yeah, and we made it to this sweet hiking shelter.
Ooh.
Well, before that, we basically mapped it out. We had to get past the one really, really big river crossing that day. And we didn't want to time it to where we were crossing it in the
midnight.
dark. But luckily, we were there at like 5:30. Had 30 minutes to cross. But gosh, that was a big day. We saw a lot of stuff that day. We started in the swamp, ended at a shelter, and 2 hours, probably 3 hours before that, made it to that river crossing, going through a city, resupplying, but trying to just get to the river crossing, and it was pretty gnarly. Right when we got there, there's all these hogs, wild hogs,
Oh yeah,
and they just turned down where the river crossing is. And so we're like, well, we can't go back. There's all these hogs, and just knee-deep mud until you get to this black water, and it's waist deep on me, and I'm tall. I've still got to take my bike and lift it over my head, get the
Loaded.
bike up,
Like
Yeah.
on your
loaded.
shoulders.
60-pound
yeah.
bike.
Yeah.
60-pound bike. Get through, halfway through the river, there's all this vegetation.
So your
and-
feet's getting caught up in like seaweed and
Oh,
stuff?
yeah. And right before you get there,
down tree.
Right before you get there, there's a huge sign that says "No swimming, alligators," everywhere.
Yeah,
And
and that's the one thing that everybody stresses out about that route is the river crossing, because you can't see anything. You just like show up and like you don't really like. Luckily, we could see where everybody else had gone through. We could see like the mud tracks on the other side, but sometimes you like, if you get there first, that stuff's not there.
No.
So you don't know exactly where to go across.
Sometimes putting down first tracks is sketchy.
Right. But that day was long because we like
before that, yeah, we were through that whole like
that city,
and before that we were in this huge kind of same thing, wildlife management area where we're on like the raised section of land in between like these gnarly bass boat canals. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? What is that? A lake?
Lake Apopka.
A Lake Apopka. Yeah.
But there's all these like land bridges connecting reservoir and different channels.
Super beautiful. It's like you're up on these dikes and you can see for miles, and it's just like grass and water and alligators.
Lots of alligators.
Lots of big alligators.
Ooh.
That was the sunny, nice day. That was probably the only nice day of riding.
The sun came out at the end of the day that day. Yeah.
And all the alligators were out. Side of the road, everything.
My favorite part about Florida is all the roads are 90-degree turns. You only move in right angles. Like, there is some swamp stuff in which you have to make it through. But everything else was taking a right, taking a left, going straight. And going straight, left and right through the swamp was awesome.
We resupplied in
Apopka
and went to a Dollar General because that was like the first thing we saw, and we were out of food. That's another thing about the route is like the resupply is pretty far apart.
And you have to time it right. Like a lot of the places are so small, they're not open after 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or before
you're out in the
10 in the morning.
Yeah. Totally.
You can't get pizza before 11 o'clock.
We didn't see a single gas station with your Hunt Brothers pizza.
Yeah, no Hunt Brothers pizza.
Oh, that's such a bummer.
They got to make a whole pie. You can't get the little individual.
We rolled up.
Shame.
It was at night on the second day, and we were like rolling up, and I just hear this guy start like screaming my name. He's like, TJ, is that TJ? And I was like, what the hell is like, who is this? And we like roll up to him, and it's this long-haired dude with a surly hat on, super skinny, and like we roll in, and we're pretty like, I don't know, we're like 70 miles in, maybe 65 miles in, and we roll into this like store parking lot, and he's like, I'm like looking at him, he's like, you don't remember me, do you? And I was like, and it clicked, and it was my buddy Skiji, who is one of the big bike packers down there. He's also a thru hiker, and I knew him from like CFIT and Florida Divide, and he had beers for us.
Oh shit!
It's like Trail Magic, and that store, the Lake Lindsay Mall, was open that day. We just were there too late.
We were just there too late.
Very late.
And they had Cuban sandwiches. We missed out on the Cuban sandwiches.
Oh dang!
But missed out on Cuban sandwiches and Rusti's Hunt Brothers pizza.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No pizza.
But
no
it was
sandwiches.
crazy. Like that dude just comes out and like it's such that Florida bikepacking community is so like, and the bikepacking community in general is pretty tight.
Yeah.
Everybody knows a lot of each other, especially if you do those races. So
yeah. So
I just rambled.
So day 3, you guys made a ton of progress. Very beautiful day. Cruising on some dikes, seeing some big gators. Probably some good old boys out ripping in their bass boats.
Mm-hmm.
You guys getting buzzed by any side-by-sides on the roads and stuff down there?
No.
Actually, I don't know that we saw very many side-by-sides.
So much path. There was a lot of path traversing through the city.
Okay, so bike path stuff through Apopka?
Stress-free. Stress-free.
Florida's public infrastructure for that stuff is the best.
It was surprising.
There's so many bike paths, and like they're very good about that.
So let me ask you about this river crossing. Was there an alternate, or that was just like the way?
That's what you had to do.
You got a river, you got to cross it.
Yeah. That's what happened.
And it was probably 30 feet wide. It'd be like, it was less than crossing the Davidson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was also like
swamp mud and black.
Yeah. We walked through, and we're both like, I mean, it was like nuts deep on me. And bikes over our head. get to the other side, and then the hardest part was getting through the mud on the other side that was like calf deep.
Getting through that suction mud.
And there was all these like kind of like cut trees, but like stumps and roots and stuff. So you're like struggling. You still have your bike on your shoulder, like you're tripping on stuff. And we get out, we get to the other side, and there's another group on the other side that's doing the opposite direction, and they're like getting ready to go. Like I was in my boxers in a shirt, and they're like getting undressed to go through it, and they're like, "Man, you guys smell terrible." I was like, "Yeah, I just shit my pants." And I go through there, but the mud was just terrible, and I burned like probably 10 baby wipes just cleaning my legs.
Oh geez, because there's no like freshwater spot to like get like rinse all that crap off. Because like sometimes when you cross like a creek or a river here, you might get some mud, but then you can like scoot down to a rocky section and wash off. But
totally,
and that's the kind of mud that like just dries on your leg and becomes like a cast.
It smells bad.
And smells bad.
Yeah. So we got through that and still had another
6 miles of bushwhacking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Before we even could get to a camp spot.
Yeah.
That was rough.
But we did find that nice. There's a store, so we had planned it. We had thought about camping across on the other side of the river crossing because we were like, we definitely want to get over that. And it was going to rain. We knew it was going to rain the next day.
All day.
But I had seen there's a shelter on the Florida Trail, a hiker shelter, similar to what we have here, but way nicer than any of the shelters we have in Pisgah. And there was also a store at an RV park that was on our map that apparently had supplies and beer. So we like busted ass to get to this thing. I think we had another 9 miles just to get there. And they were like remodeling it, and it was closed.
Oh geez.
So we like dicked around there like trying to find it, and it wasn't open. So we ride the next 3 miles and then ride another mile off route to get to this hiking shelter, which was super nice and dry. And we could like hang our tents to dry, sleep on platforms.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's nice when you like can wake up the next morning and know you're not packing up wet gear.
Oh yeah.
And you can like eat in the morning when it's not raining, pack your bike.
Have a dry tent for the next night.
That's
nice. We knew we were going to be just soaked.
Yeah.
Because it was raining that day?
Yeah. And that was on.
That's going into day 4?
That was, day 4 it was supposed to rain all day, which it did. And that was 110 miles. Day 3 was 110 miles. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys made hay while the sun was shining on that one.
Yeah.
Tell us about day 4.
Starting the rain, finishing the rain.
Day 4.
And it's just like these limestone roads, more bushwhacking, but slow start. Everybody was kind of hurting after that big day. And where did we go from there? We went north.
We went to the Ocala National Forest.
Yeah.
Which is
and that we
joke.
were in the Seminole National Forest?
Oh, yeah. We camped in the Seminole National Forest.
The third night.
We had just entered. We were probably 2 miles into the Seminole National Forest. So we started in that and then went into is it the Seminole National Forest? It might be a state forest.
Tribal land.
But then we went to the Ocala National Forest.
Which Ocala National Forest spans huge amounts of land across Florida. Like it goes almost to Daytona, I think, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
And it is no joke. Like that section that on CFIT and Florida Divide, especially the Florida Divide going through Ocala, is some of the hardest stuff I've ever done. It's got so much different stuff in it.
Okay.
I mean, just like sand roads and like some bushwhacking and
Limestone roads.
limestone
which are
roads.
really weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
What are limestone roads?
It's just really, really hard packed, but it's almost like a rock bed, and there's sand and there whatever topsoil you would ever call it there. But if it's wet and it splashes up on you, it turns into cement.
Oh, yeah.
It's real thick and real sedimenty.
Will sandblast you.
and
for
lots
sure.
of little like potholes in it.
Yeah, there's always a line. There's like one groove, like on the left or the right or the center of the road, that is sweet. Like you can hear it when you're riding it. You know you're faster than everyone else.
Yeah,
But
that is
It changes.
that is totally 100%.
You go left, right, middle. Like you
Yeah.
just find the better line, and then
And you're listening.
you're listening, yeah, when you're moving.
Yeah.
You could feel it. It actually feels like you're going someplace.
Yeah.
It's cool when you're in those scenarios where all these different senses just kind of click together to like let you know that you're in the zone. Like this is the zone. This is where you need to be right now.
Yeah, I mean, the zone on the road is easy to determine by sound, but the zone mentally is a lot harder to find. It's mainly like leapfrogging each other, trying to keep up with each other, trying to maintain a pace, and occasionally stopping so we can just walk or do anything different than what we've been doing.
That was one thing that we implemented, and I've done this for a little while on bigger trips. Is you just stop and walk.
Yeah,
throughout the day.
A couple episodes back when we were talking with some of the professionals in the body care episode, that forward bent over body position just shrinks up your psoas.
Yeah, not good.
It's not natural. And for you to like doing these big days where you guys are just on the bike for pretty much the entire day, sun up to sundown, like to like get up and like stand upright like humans are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And work those different muscles.
I implemented the ride like a single speeder technique, which is when you find that gear that's fairly stout and you give it 1 or 2 pumps and you coast. And if you're on that smooth line on the road, like you can keep up with your homies pretty good. And there's a lot of that.
You're also following 6'2" and 6'4".
Yeah, and
5,
at 5'8", like
you're
I
sitting
got
right
little
there.
legs, like I'm trying to keep up. But the big gear, 2 pumps a second, like that's maybe not 2 pumps a second, but the coasting in any variety is great. There's never a time when you get really free speed. Like you have to pedal almost continuously.
That's Florida.
That's
Florida.
the hard thing. That's the hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's nice.
Oh, day 4 was when we went by the bombing range.
Yeah,
Bombing
and then
range.
There was more bushwhacking and just off trail. If you wouldn't have had a GPS, and luckily he had flagged a couple sections of just nothingness. If you really didn't have a way to find the trail, you'd be lost.
I was about to ask you guys, like, what was up with the bushwhacking?
That was en route. That was a part of it. It's game trail, but it's just everything grows down there, and it's palms and thicket and
Lots of
all kinds of
grassland.
yeah.
That's what, like, imagine like a grass prairie with swamp and like some like scrub pines. And you're just like, it was a little bit easier for us because being in the back, maybe 100 people had already gone through it, so we could see the tracks. And
Okay.
it kind of looked like someone had driven like a side-by-side through there too. But there'd be like splits in it, and you'd be like riding in the mud, and then get up on this grass, and it was rough, man. Florida's no joke. Like everybody wants to say that route was way harder than like the Wilson's Ramble.
Oh, wow.
Over here in Wilson Creek that Logan put together, in my opinion.
So where'd you guys stay at on day 4?
Where did
we were
stay at?
looking
In
for
a swamp.
in another swamp. We were looking for this section on like the cue sheet. Basically said there was a camping spot, and what sounded like was under a bridge. And we knew it was raining all day. We figured at least we'll get out of the rain for a little bit until we wake up in the morning. And we just basically missed it, or we saw it and didn't realize it was on top of a bridge on the side of the road. It would have been a terrible camp spot, but we went into, what swamp was that?
We camped on a trail.
On the trail.
In the trail.
Oh, what was the name of that swamp? It'll come to me.
Marshall Swamp.
Marshall Swamp.
Marshall Swamp.
The cue sheet said there's a bridge at this river, and it said many a bike packer has camped underneath this bridge.
Okay.
So I was like, perfect.
But it's been raining all day. So was the water higher than normal?
Well,
We didn't even get to the river.
I had this like vision in my head of this like tall bridge that we were like the route went under.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like going to be nice and dry, and we were going to be able to set up underneath there. And I'm like looking at the GPS, and we were like 80 miles in at that point. So we're pretty blown out. And we like go over this bridge that was probably only like 10 feet above this water, above this river. and it's dusk, about to be dark.
Yeah.
And we just keep going, and I'm like,
And raining.
I think it might have
Slowly
stopped. Yeah, I think it was like maybe misting. So I was like, oh, there's no, like, that's a bridge, but that's not it. I was like, and we get like 3 miles later, and I was like, we stopped, and I was like, guys, we passed that must have been the bridge back there. There's no way I was interested in camping underneath that bridge.
No.
To me, like, envisioning what this cue sheet said about many a bikepacker has slept on this bridge, blah, blah, blah. I have this vision of this, like, setup where it's like maybe a bridge that's like 15 feet over the water, but there's like almost like a double track beside the creek or something that's like all nice and dry under the bridge. There's like a good embankment on both sides. But after listening to you, it sounds like it's literally like there might have been like you guys probably would have had to like crawled under the bridge and like
With a
hobble.
60-pound bike.
yeah.
I'm thinking that it was like a bivvy spot.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
somewhere where you can just like get in your little burrito bag and go to sleep. And
Yeah.
get
Not
up in
above
the
it.
morning.
Not above it at all.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it was on like a road.
Yeah,
Or
there
like
was
cars on
traffic.
it and stuff.
I mean, it was a limestone road, but it was like a well-used limestone road.
Okay. That night, you guys basically just like posted up and were like, this is where we're staying.
Well, we keep going further into the swamp, and it's just getting nastier and muckier, and just all this like water that just kind of creeps in near the trail, and it's black mud, and we were just looking for a flat spot at that point.
Yep. Morale was, well, not low, but it was ending.
It was subpar.
Yeah.
It was going
Well,
to
we
come
were
to an
close. We knew we were close.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot to finish on the final day.
Our original goal was to do 75 miles a day every day for 5 days.
Okay.
And we started putting in like bonus miles so that our last day, because we also had to ride back from the start to my mom's house, which was an additional 13 miles of road,
Oh.
Straight Ocala Road.
straight Ocala road. So we were like, man, it'd be great for our last day to be like, it's going to be Santos, so it's going to be harder because it's going to be single track. It'd be great if it wasn't like a 80-mile day.
Oh, absolutely.
So we put in, and we could enjoy it. So we put in these like bonus miles.
To shorten up day 5.
Yep.
All right. So you wake up in the swamp on day 5.
Yep.
Wet tents, wet everything.
It was cold. That was the
It
coldest
was
morning.
very cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I remember
I mean,
that?
very cold for down there.
That was like,
Oh, yeah.
I remember thinking, because we had found this like picnic bench, and we basically camped around the bench, and that was like the first time we had all sat around like a table. That was like the only time the whole trip really.
Not stood up or laid down.
Not gone straight to bed after eating whatever cold food you had.
That's why we stopped there. We
It
saw
was,
the picnic
yeah.
table, and I was like, I want to sit down and like eat.
That sounds like a beacon of hope right there.
Yeah.
So that was you guys' little beacon for this is where we're staying tonight.
Yeah. It's probably like where like people hike their dogs in the morning or something.
Oh, yeah.
So we made a point to like kind of get up and make sure we were packed.
So day 5, what's your mileage looking like?
We had, I think,
It was like 55 miles, I think.
yeah, we had a little under 45 to get to the end.
Okay.
And then the 13 miles back or 12 miles back.
Back to mom's house.
Yeah.
It was what, 13 or 14 to get to the Santos bike shop in
Yeah.
the morning, and then we got there right after they opened. Found a bunch of rattlers. Started
Yeah.
just
I would like to
Rattlesnakes?
say
rattlers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We
Raspberry rattlers.
shout out
Bought
to
'em
the
out.
Santos Bike Shop for having Doritos,
yeah,
Cheetos,
beer,
cookies, beer,
Rattlers.
high quality
ice cream.
bike. Oh yeah,
We
they have
all
an
got ice
cooler.
cream.
The bike shop that's right there on the 4-lane that's got like a right beside the campground. Yeah.
Maybe it's a car lot or
There's like a
Like a
storage-
trailer park.
Trailer
Trailer
park.
park,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I knew there was something fenced in like around it kind of because parking there can be kind of weird.
I think that dude's name is TJ as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's got nice dogs.
Yeah, he was super cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Water
we came
dogs.
in there just
Portuguese
like-
water dogs.
Portuguese water dogs.
You
We
guys
came
just
in
came in
there
there.
and bought like $40 a piece worth of junk food and ice cream and beers and sat outside and ate our ice cream at 10 in the morning. Drank a beer.
I think I had 2 rattlers before we even moved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
We had already ridden like 15 miles and, we were about to drop into the single track.
Yeah. So you guys, that's cool. So you came in from the east side into Santos, right by the bike shop, and then entered the single track there.
Yep.
And then, did you do a lap at the Vortex for good measure? Or
No, I thought about doing that. We were all, especially I was hurting real bad.
Yeah.
We were all hurting real bad.
mile 200, my knees started hurting, and then my Achilles felt like they were in vices for the rest of the ride. I thought I was going to rupture the Achilles for sure.
Oof. So you cruise through the east side of Santos, heading westbound.
Head towards Land Bridge.
Yep,
Do
Land
the
Bridge.
Land Bridge over 75, and then
Nails
back
Trail.
into Nails.
Nails
that
That
trail.
whole thing, that
Yeah.
whole trail.
Which I
'Cause it-
think Valerie Naylor built. I think
Oh.
that's why it's called Nails Trail.
We should look that up.
I'm pretty sure it is.
But yeah, that's a cool trail, but it definitely like adds on the mileage versus
Yeah,
like the Greenway.
it's spaghetti.
Yeah.
Spaghetti miles.
Mm-hmm.
We had a tradition of about every day at about 4:20 in the afternoon, cracking whatever we had, whether it was twisted teas or TJ-sized beers. What were you drinking?
Dude, the first day I had a Foster's pint.
Oh,
Nice.
It's like the big can, which actually like fits in my hand and looks like a normal beer
regular
for
beer.
someone else. And then the third day, I had 2 32-ounce High Lifes.
Yeah. Twisted
And they
tea.
also look like a normal beer.
Started the day with a Four Loco. Well, half
Yeah,
of a
yeah,
Four
yeah.
Loco from the night before.
so a 2 semi
The grape went down. The grape went down good.
You did drink a
sour
Four Loko
grape.
at the beginning of day 5.
Oh yeah.
We carried a lot of twisted tea and Four Loko.
Yeah. You gotta have something to just kind of
Take the edge off.
calories, take the edge off. Our asses were sandblasted again, and we all had Achilles injuries or ailments.
Yeah.
So
Shout out to Pedaling Innovations Catalyst Pedals.
shout out to Pedaling Innovations Catalyst Pedals. It's probably mainly due to our off the couch ride, but consistent injuries across the board.
So you guys roll in, not quite caboose crew at this point, or were you guys?
No, so I didn't find this out till later. A bunch of people had scratched, which means they'd like
DNF'd.
DNF'd, yeah. And we definitely weren't the last ones.
We beat those Miami guys though.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they finished or not.
I don't
It'd
think
be
they
interesting-
did. I think
yeah,
they pulled
I don't
out.
think they did.
But they
Definitely
had
not
the
the
one
first.
guy in their group had ridden it like four or 7 years in a row. Whatever amount, but he had done it
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
They were funny. My fondest memory of them is rolling up on them in Croom. We had like caught them because we let them by because they like blew by us at one point, and then we caught them. We were like yo-yoing. I was like, "What are you guys doing?" And he was like, "Well, that guy's over there taking a shit." And I was like, "Oh, that's a good time for that."
So
Not that everybody needs to know that, but
Yeah.
that was a good point. Of
You
that.
gotta do it
There-
at least once a day.
There's so much that just comes back to you. These
Yeah.
days are so long, and this is how I've always described Florida bikepacking. And you guys, now that you guys have done it, maybe you can confirm or deny. It's like being a kid when you're on your bicycle and you just start like, you remember the time when you like rode like a mile from your house and you're
Mhm.
like, oh my God, like you ride over to your buddy's house and you like maybe cut through the woods and like come out into the shopping center, and then you go back into the woods and you're doing all these little like hobo trails. That's what Florida bikepacking feels like to me. Like being a kid and like go into like a wilderness area and then you pop out into like a strip mall
at a Big Lots.
or like at a Big Lots or Dollar General, and there's like cars everywhere, and you're like, you've been like haven't seen a person or car in like 7 hours, and then all of a sudden you're riding on this like super busy road at night.
Wow.
You went from being like no stress really other than just pedaling to like intense high
Shock
stress.
and terror.
Yeah. Where you're just like everybody's like focused on like you're gonna pedal as hard as you can
To get the hell off this road.
to get the hell off this road.
And you try to warn each other like, hey, car back, dude. But there's a car every time. There's always a car.
Yeah. It doesn't make it any easier.
No.
And you're so blown out, like you don't have the power to be putting down, but you find it.
TJ, what was your bike setup?
I ran Y Cycles Wayward, 29 plus, 2.8s, all rock ice bags. Greg makes the nicest stuff. Love that dude. Flat pedals, which I've been transitioning over to riding flat pedals, bike packing, bedrock sandals.
I was about to ask you if you were rocking your bedrocks.
Regis and I both rocked bedrocks, that's the biggest ride I've done in them.
Okay.
I was worried about like sand, like having like rubbing issues and like my feet getting tore up. Had no issues, and I think that's due to those big pedals.
Okay.
I could leave them loose, and since those pedals are so big, like stuff didn't move around.
Yeah.
Yeah, dynamo. Ran a dynamo, which was awesome. Having to not worry about
like recharging a light.
Recharging lights, charging my battery bank.
What was your water storage setup like?
I ran a 32-ounce clean canteen on the down tube, and then 1 like liter Camelback bottle in one of my feed bags.
Okay.
And I definitely like did terrible on my nutrition and water consumption and paid for it.
Where did you store your beers at?
So I had 2 of the Rock Ice honey pots. The left one was water and the right one would be food, but when I would get beer, I would put the beer on the bottom and stuff all the food on the top of it because I would be saving that beer. Sometimes I like to drink a beer while I'm riding, but I didn't do that on this trip.
Caloric intake.
That works for game lands.
Yeah. And then I put one in my back I have like a Rock Ice hip pack, like a waterproof one, where like my camera was and stuff, and it would grow depending on how much food. Like one time I had like 3 double cheeseburgers and a small fry in there, and a beer.
That was a thick bag.
Yeah. That was not waterproof at that point because I could only roll it like halfway over and close it.
Yeah. Rusty, what was your setup?
I was the only guy on drop bars, so I have a secondhand Salsa Deadwood. They only made that bike for like a year before they moved the name over to something else. But drop bar 29er.
Okay.
2.3 tires, 235 icons. I got Eagle on my drop bar bike. That's pretty dope. Have a roll top bag that rubs my leg throughout the day. So like no hair, scabs at the end of the day. Like it was a blood blister.
Let's see it.
It's back. It's
the hair back.
Yeah, I mean it's smooth, but
looking at it from this angle, it literally looks like there's an indention in your calf from it.
I think that's just my calf, but the smooth spot is definitely where the bag rubs my leg. I think drop bars was a good choice because everyone else complained about their pinkies.
Some of us have
feeling weird.
Broken both of their arms.
And I would say that, while my hands hurt in all the hand positions, it was nice to have more than one without slouching. Rock iced feedbacks, their handlebar harness is awesome, but mainly the feedback sweet because it can hold an Nalgene or a tall boy. One for snacks, one for tall boys. 2 bottles and a little bottle, I think. I had a water filter, but we barely used it. I carried a fanny pack with my wallet and small items. A leave. I stocked that with a leave in my power bank and essentials.
Yeah, do you guys carry like a USB power bank? Keep the phones charged?
I think we all did, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's nice
And
to
mine
have.
was plugged into the dynamo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I charged Regis.
You charged
actually,
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could charge my
Game
light,
changer.
my headlamp off of a power bank. So I just run it on my helmet into my fanny pack, which is great. Outbound lights.
Tell them, yeah.
Those things are pretty good.
Sweet. So you rocked outbound lights.
Yeah, I
on
did the
this.
hangover with the pass-through charging. The cable they give you is long enough to fit to your fanny pack from your helmet.
Unless you're 6'5".
Unless you're 6'5", but if you're 5'8", you have a different set of problems.
But Tom did tell me recently that they are including longer cables now.
Yeah,
'cause
so it's
Tom's
really
like-
sweet.
Isn't Tom like 6'2", 6'3"?
Tom's
a big
pretty
guy.
tall as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Drop bar is the way to go. Cable discs, it was great.
Nice. And what was your tire setup? You said 235s?
235 Icon. That's like my roll fast,
Yeah.
go everywhere tire, and
How did that tire do on this?
it was fun. It was great. They had 2 6s, so obviously they have a little more float when it's loose. But I think it helped me keep up with 2 guys that are pushing a bigger gear all the time. I didn't check my tire pressure once. Like I inflated it the day before.
It felt good.
Yeah, and it was fine. It felt better by the 5th day. So that's how you do it.
Yeah. Exactly. Always
Yeah.
go by Phil.
The ass was raw, so like that 16, 18 pounds on the last day was pretty nice.
There we go.
Yeah.
And you said you did
Not-
2.8s?
I did 2.8 recons with cush core in the rear,
Wow.
and I was probably running 12 psi front and rear, definitely using the cush core.
You were sitting on it.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
you were riding low.
There was multiple times where, like, throughout the day I was hitting the cush core all the time, and I was running cush core XC in the back.
Why not more pressure?
There's so many bumps down there, and you're sitting for so long. Like, you never, like Rusty was saying about, like, the standing up. I mean, we were doing that all the time. I mean, we both ride single speed a lot, so we're used to pushing that bigger gear. And we would stand up just to get off our sit bones.
That was the ticket.
Yeah.
That was the best thing I learned to do was
Yeah.
just like stand up and pedal I do it for 30 minutes straight, but if you only have one leg down at a time, take a couple pumps, coast for a few seconds.
You can stretch while you're doing that.
so
Like,
good.
Regis was by far the fittest
He sat down the
of
whole
the
time.
three of us. Whenever we would get on the road, I mean, Rusty and I definitely had some, like, pretty long pulls, but we would sit behind Regis, and he would be pedaling a pretty high cadence, and I could just stand up and just, like, and keep up with him and get off my sit bones.
Nice. So, Regis, what was your setup that you got last minute?
I picked up a pretty fresh, like 2-month-old Kona Unit X, and I had some borrowed gear. Rusty had let me borrow some cages and some Revelet bags for the fork, and mostly everything else I have is Revelet. Feed bags. What's the tank bag? The Meg.
The mag tank, yeah.
The mag tank,
It's kinda
bolt-on,
nice.
pretty sweet. Millhouse bars, reserve Santa Cruz wheels with DT350s, and GX axis. So only electric guy.
Oh,
Got
that's risky.
it. I didn't change a battery once.
Okay. Did you took an extra?
I took 3 in total.
Oh,
so
wow.
2 spares just in case, because I had not really used that system a lot. But apparently, like, there's Leo Wilcox. She's done whole Tour Divide on 2 batteries, and that's what 14 days roughly.
Yeah, she does
14, 15 days?
2,700 miles.
Yeah. So 1 battery's fine. You can go to Florida with one battery.
and do 370 some miles.
Oh yeah. But yeah, so that GX Axis, Blackburn frame bag, and water situation, I had the Velo Orange Nalgene holder, and I fit the Mac Daddy Nalgene
The
in the
big boy.
frame. So kind of like the half frame bag setup with the big Nalgene. And TJ let me borrow one of his rear racks, and I had just like a roll top dry bag, Valet strapped on there, up front with the sweet roll, and yeah, that was it.
Are you guys
Great
rocking
bike.
dropper posts?
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody had dropper posts.
Okay.
Which
So
came
good.
in key because, I mean,
Having that adjustability just throughout the day helps.
Yeah.
yeah. And I was running a much lower saddle height by the end of the ride because of my Achilles.
Okay.
That's the only, like, I couldn't run my normal saddle height. Like, I would have to lower it or they would. It was crazy, man. Like, it was a balance between the front and the back of my ankle. Which one would get tight?
You
Like,
just kept
super tight.
rotating it, kept sliding it back and forth to
Yeah.
adjust.
How does that feel right now?
They're still sore, and it's been 8
Oh
days.
yeah, mine's a little.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say crunchy, but it feels rough.
Those are
rougher.
still sore. Yeah, like when we got done, I was. If you put your thumb on my Achilles right now when I'm doing this, you can feel it go.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm.
It's the crappy. It's like an old dried up rubber band.
Yeah.
It's like the Tin Man. Need to put some WD-40 in there.
Yeah. And then my index finger or my ring fingers and my pinky fingers on both hands, the tips are still numb, which is not fun.
Worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
I've never had my hands do it. I've had my toes go numb for like 6 months after big trips, but not my hands.
I'm struggling with that feel. I can like barely open a Listerine bottle with my left hand.
Man, drop bars were great. Enough.
That's
Except
what
single
I
track.
get. That's what I get for off the couching.
The single track sucked. Well, some of it sucked on drop bars.
Yeah.
Because you can't hold on very well. You have to be in the drops and have cable brakes.
You did great.
Kind of sucked.
How many miles of single track do you think we did
It's a
in
lot.
It
total?
was a decent amount.
That's a lot.
Dude. I mean, that route's like 60% off road, I think.
Yeah, I would say close to half
Yeah.
is single track, or it's that weird. They make these huge long sections of like fire cut, where they'll take like basically a plow and whatever vehicle to pull it, and you
so
get like
gnarly.
foot deep sand.
Yeah, I've
and
seen
you're
that stuff
and you're
before.
like either crossing it or riding through it, and that's the worst.
It's like trying to ride on the beach.
It is.
Yeah, it
You're
is.
having to put out so much power to stay on top of the sand, and then fighting to balance it. It's just, yeah.
And walking, that sucks too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The walking, I mean,
It was nice.
the
It's
walking
pretty
was
good.
nice, man. Anytime anybody had to like stop to take off a jacket, the other two would stop and walk
Okay.
while the other person was doing whatever they were doing. Or if like two people stopped, the third person would like walk. Like if they didn't want to stop and didn't need to do anything, you would stop, you would be walking, and that's when you would like eat more food and drink water while you were walking. So like you kept just going.
Yeah.
Crack the twisted T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get her going.
If you guys did this again, would you change your bike setups?
I went with some ergon grips, and I would not run them again. But
Okay.
other than that, I would pack a lot less.
Okay, because Logan swears by those Argon grips.
Yeah, and they're the same ones.
I think it's the old man stuff.
Yeah. I will say that one day
We switched.
we
bikes.
switched bikes because Regis and I ride the same size bikes.
Mm.
We have different saddle heights, but we switched bikes, and it was noticeable how stiff his. Now he's on steel and I'm on titanium.
And
We've
you got a
the
carbon
same-
fork too.
and I
Yeah.
had a carbon fork, but we had the same carbon bars, and I had the Wolf Tooth Mega Fat Paw grips, and he had the ergons. And I was like, "How are you riding this? This thing's like riding a 2x4."
Wow.
It's pretty stiff.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Would you do drop bars again, Rusty?
I'm a big fan of the old man everything. Old man grips, the ergons. I have like a set of each one for my drop bar bikes, or my flat bar bikes rather. But I think it kind of inspired me that I would like some drop bars with a little shallower drop to it, a little more flare, just like a little more single tracky. Because overall, the hand positions, like, they were nice. And then as far as tires, like, there's some sweet 2.4s, but I built up some sweet wheels that are kind of on the modern day narrow side. Yeah, I don't want to change much. I got Eagle on my drop bar bike. I used it once on the ride.
I use the Eagle.
That's the setup. There's a company called Ratio that has a new ratchet. You basically replace the ratchet inside your 11-speed SRAM road shifter, and there's a little 3D printed piece on the back of your derailleur, and you could run mountain and road together. The solution you want without having to do the whole electronic battery thing. So, no, that's dialed. I would not, with the bag that rubs the leg and all, I'd probably keep doing it because I've been doing it for so long. That is my go-to.
It's like a comfort pain. Like
It's comfort pain. I love the comfort pain. Like, I know that one. I'm gonna stick with it. Maybe I'm gonna swap my handlebar situation in the near future just to have something a little more versatile. But
maybe some Jones bars or something.
no Jones bars, just shallower.
Full on dad mode right there.
Yeah. I can't do that on a flat bar bike. Yes, but I have a beat ass drop bar bike and a beat ass single speed. So these are my options. I'm gonna pick the drop bar bike.
I'm in love with the GX Axis shifter, and I decided I was gonna actually run a drop bar bike before the race, and 2 days before I went to the flat bar. But gosh, the GX Axis shifter is so versatile. You could put it on anything as long as it's flat bar. Really, you could run on any bar, but so easy to shift and just changing it out. So awesome, so versatile, incredible product.
And one thing that's nice about running the wireless stuff on a bike packing rig is you don't have the bags pressing down on your cables.
Yeah.
Like
Super
when me
clean.
and TJ did that trip that we did last year, I had to help him ride behind me because like my bag's pushing my thing and I can't tell which way the cable tension's making my derailleur go or not go. So yeah, I can see that being pretty clutch.
I did have some shifting issues because of that, because of my bag.
What would you change bike wise to this trip again?
Man, I love that Wayward. Hands down, my favorite
Yeah.
bike. Drop bars would have been nice on that. What would I change? Narrower tires.
Okay.
Icons, I'd probably do 2.6 icons.
Good to hear.
I did 2.8 recons on there. Way too much tire for down there, but I wanted the cushion.
Okay.
From the bigger one. I've done Florida trips on my Fargo with 2.6 Mezcals, so Vittoria tires,
Mm-hmm.
and they were fine.
You used your Krampus though you rode from Mulberry Gap to the start of Tour Florida.
I rode from Mulberry Gap to Fargo, Georgia, which is the start or the old start of the Florida Divide, and then to Key West.
But you were on a Krampus with
3.0.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Slow rolling.
The original 3.0, like Minion, DHF.
Oh no, it was the Chronicles.
Chronicle.
So
that's the only other 3.0 tire. Yeah.
So I would do that. I would love to try a drop bar with big tires, but the ride quality of the titanium is just unparalleled.
Well, you could put drops on that bike, right?
I could probably get away with putting drops on that because I'm so tall.
Because it's the where the bar position puts your body at, right?
Right. I'd have a super short stem on it.
There is a company out of East Pulteney, Vermont called Analog Cycles.
Mm-hmm.
They make like a 0-degree stem.
Yeah. I've seen that.
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Monraker did like a long time ago.
Yeah.
When they first started doing
Mhm.
bikes or trail bikes.
Analog Cycles dudes are super cool. They got a small little shop that's centered around a sugar shack, like a Maple Grove up there in Vermont.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that bike's dialed for me. I mean, in my mind, when I wrote the review on that bike for Logan, I called it the Unicorn, and I still stand by that.
Right on.
I mean, for me, it's the perfect bikepacking bike.
Do you have a V1 or V2 Wayward?
V1.
V1.
They made the V2 smaller
Okay.
or the reach is shorter for the...
Not good for you.
Not good for me. I could use it a little bit bigger.
Yep.
But the Hefe, I'd be interested in the Hefe,
Yep.
which is their newer one.
That unit looks pretty sweet. Unit X.
I was stoked on riding his.
Yeah, I mean, it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Rusty, going forward, do you see more bike pack event things like this in your future, or you still like want to do like the more like sub 48s and stuff like that, or
so I do a lot of, I mean, overnight bike packing. That is the bread and butter. You know, if you think that quite often you carry nearly about the same amount of stuff for one day as you do for 2 days, a day's worth of food, maybe a day's worth of half of food, and then you know, the camping and the base weight and your clothes and your layers, that's all going to be the same thing. As far as events, you know, like big rides, I probably do 1 or 2 a year. The Gravel Growler last year was dope. I want to do the Wilson's Rambler this year. I think a Huracan before that. If that comes back, I'll do that again. But the sub 24 hour is like the bread and butter. And being right here in Brevard, like if you want to get into 2 days, it's really easy to go out and spend 2 days either in one place
or like
Trans
Pisgah.
Yeah, camp, fish, hang out, leisure pace, or you know, you can make a little small loop out of here. So I like to do a couple of big trips a year. I don't need the glory of doing an event or a race, but you know, if there's a small incentive, a patch, or a sticker, I'm willing to hurt for it.
Right on.
You know, for my own, not necessarily bragging rights, because it's either going to be TJ or myself. Like, there's no one going to be there to give me a pat on the back, but yeah, I would say my ideal bike pack is take a cool route. Anyone that's cool, anyone that I can get out of town for a week, and then add 1 to 2 days to it and make it like a little more enjoyable. That's my pro tip.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, cut it back some, hang out in the place that you're at. If you've never been there before, give it a day instead of just passing through. I love passing through. I love the pace. I like the scenery that's always forever changing. But I've been to a lot of weird places on bike packs and bike tours, but take longer to do it. It's only the work thing that kind of stops that from happening.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably for most of us.
That's mainly it.
Yeah. So, Regis, what about yourself? You psyched on doing stuff like this in the future?
I'm basically, I took this event and I'm going to use it as a training block and hopefully work towards riding / racing TNGA this year, end of August.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hooked. I love it. I don't know why I wasn't doing it earlier. What was I doing in early 2010s? I was doing other kinds of bikes, but who knew you could have so much fun for multiple days? Yeah, I'll definitely do it. My wife is definitely looking to get into it also, but I'd like to work towards some other big events.
Cool. TJ, for listeners that are interested in partaking in something like this, what is your suggestion on how to most of you guys kind of off the couch this one. So how do you kind of get ready to do something like this?
Put in some saddle time because your ass is going to hurt.
Yeah.
But if you can make it through day 2, day 3, you're going to be fine. Bike packing is 90% mental. I mean, it's all in your head. We off the couch. I mean, I hadn't ridden a bike in probably a month before I did this.
Oh, geez.
Just because of the snow and everything we had.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I think that if you can get out there and you're mentally tough enough to do it and you just have fun. I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, we were pushing big miles, but we did have fun doing it. You go through your roller coasters of your ups and downs, but you'll be all right. Getting into it, you just got to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my friends already have all the backpacking gear. Borrow some of the bike bags and just go out with someone.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky to have the forest right here that we, like Rusty was saying, we can go out.
The sub 24 options are endless.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
in shelters too.
Yeah. And
You don't even take a tent.
Yeah. With the shelters, ride to Deep Gap, ride to the Butter Gap shelter. I mean, the super easy one is right there on Black.
Mm-hmm.
You might get snuggle up with some
mice,
critters. Some meese, some mices. But just get out there and do it. It's so much fun. Get a group of people. Take your time. Don't worry about doing big mile days.
Have a camp spot in mind and
just have fun. Have food. Bring some beers. Pick your trash up.
Take it with you.
Yeah.
Right
Pack
on.
your trash.
Anything else you guys think we should cover?
I mean, I would say that the sub 24 hour is the bread and butter. All you need is a bike. There's a lot of, you can take a dry bag and volley strap it or get some webbing and attach it to your bike. If you got good company and you already owned a couple items, you can rough it for a night. And that's kind of where you get your idea of what you need and what you don't need. And the biggest thing is carrying things around and realizing that you don't need them.
Yes.
Yeah. Once you get to that point, to me, it's easy. You have the same amount of stuff. I've had the same gear for 5 years. It's all ragged. It still works. It works great. And get out there and do it. Find some friends. As a solo adventure, it could be a little misery, but there's different kinds of fun. There's type 2 fun. There's type 1 fun. Type 1 fun being the immediate sense of accomplishment, that adrenaline rush, having some sort of payoff. And then the second type of fun is being oh shit, I did that. It was miserable and now I'm here, comfortable and safe and warm at my house, and I have a little more of experience after that. So foster type 2 fun. Any kind of type 2 fun you can do. You're fine, you're not break, your parents are waterproof, you'll be fine. Exercise some caution, but take little bites before you take big bites. It'll be good.
Train your gut.
Train your gut.
I definitely did eat a bunch of shitty food before. Like
Okay.
maybe the week before I went
That's a
on
good
this
idea.
trip, which included which has been a shop favorite for some reason now, Taco Bell,
Yep, Taco Bell.
which I do enjoy. It's not that shitty.
That's like hitting the heavy bag, at the gym. Like once you're on Taco Bell, like if you can do that, you can do everything else.
Yeah,
Taco
and-
Bell sits well with me.
Oh, that's good.
Of course,
Well,
I don't eat meat, so
I just hadn't had it for a while.
yeah.
So I would eat that. I mean, we were eating I can't tell you how many bags of combos I ate. You go in there and you look for the ever elusive prison Danish, which is like the $2 Danish that has 1,000 calories.
Weighs like half a pound.
That weighs a half a pound. I call it the prison Danish, and that thing will get you like 20 miles.
I'm a nuts and seeds guy myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
No meat, no dairy.
Okay.
So it's Taco Bell is a staple at
Mhm.
times, especially in adverse environments. But I think more importantly, we need to talk about TJ's nipples.
I was going to talk about my nipples actually.
Did you
You
get
were
shaved
gonna-
nipples?
My nipples were bleeding at one. Yeah.
Like that episode of The Office with Andy and the.
Oh yeah.
They're just now I'm able to touch them, but they were scabbed over.
TJ, have you considered super gluing them on the daily basis or pre-ride? Just give them a little coating on the top.
Well, I did
to give
carry
them
that.
some resistance.
What was that stuff I had?
Lidocaine.
Oh,
Lidocaine.
Yeah.
Oh, the numbing stuff.
Yeah, and I would put that on there every morning.
But that just like masks the pain that they're having.
The destruction.
You need some tassels, man.
Well, usually I will put a strip of Gorilla Tape over them, but I have a very hairy chest, and that makes it.
You
Like-
come with a sweater.
I do come with a sweater. Yeah,
Factory built in.
factory built in. It'd be great if it was wool, so it wasn't cold when it's wet.
So it shed water a little bit.
Yeah,
It's only cold because you're cold.
but yeah, my nipples were ragged out.
Damn, dude.
Terrible.
That sucks.
The worst they've been by far, unfortunately. Yeah, on any trip. Yeah, on that one.
Well, I guess we'll leave it on wishing TJ a healthy recovery on his chafe nipples.
Happy nipples.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for sitting down and talking about your bikepacking trip.
That was
Yeah.
great.
Thanks for having us, man.
My pleasure.
I hope we touched on everything you wanted.
Yeah. Get out. Ride bikes.
Do weird
Camp.
stuff.
Spend time. Pretend to be homeless.
Strap things to your bike and
Strap
go.
things and pretend to be homeless.
Amateur homelessness.
Amateur homelessness.
Ugh,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a bike packer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
Throw away your chamois.
Excellent.
I
Yeah.
can't do that.
No, we did.
Everybody was chamois-less.
Yeah.
Nobody wore chamois.
Chamois-less.
chamois.
That is something
Flat
I guess we
pedals.
should say.
That's that longest flat pedal ride ever.
Yeah. Longest flat pedal ride ever. Shout out the Pedaling Innovations for my sore Achilles. Great pedals.
Yeah,
Weak
no-
body.
No chamois wool boxers.
Leather taint.
Leather tank.
And no chamois butter or anything.
I
Yeah.
recommend sitting on a tortilla.
He did talk about doing that.
Flour or corn?
Flour.
The corn breaks apart too easily.
Yeah,
Oh,
with
yeah.
lard. Flour.
Flour will bond.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.
So I've got to admit that bike packing isn't my thing, but these guys are kind of selling me on it. I love Cuban sandwiches, beer, and junk food.
I can confirm that it is easy to consume a lot of junk food on bikepacking trips, but this is technically our third bikepacking related episode of sorts. We had the previous story time with Evan, Derek, and Graham from the Bike Magazine article, and of course we had El Presidente himself from bikepacking.com, Logan Watts, on the show for an episode. But it's cool to hear more of a story related thing, to hear like a play-by-play of kind of what a multi-day trip looked like in this type of scenario. But Drew, I've got some good bad ideas for us to maybe venture on here soon, hopefully.
Okay, yeah, I've got to say, I'm all for an epic day in the woods. I just really don't like sleeping outside. I think that's my biggest holdup.
What about would you sleep in one of the shelters, or is that too outside?
I mean, yeah, it's still outside. I mean, will do it and have done it, and it's just not my preferred way to get a solid night's rest.
I don't disagree with you, but you know what? You and I have camped outside together in Minersville. We camped and woke up in the rain.
In the rain, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Slept under a tarp behind a cemetery.
Behind a cemetery in the woods with some of the best dirt jumps Pennsylvania has had.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of weather and waking up in the rain, some of us have been waking up in the rain for the past couple mornings. And going forward into the week, I'm seeing AM showers popping up a little bit. High temps, still kind of spring-like for sure the rest of this week in the 60s. Saturday, it cools off a little bit behind the 50s. Lows are getting close to freezing, so I don't really see much of a freeze thaw thing going up unless you're up high. And then next week looks pretty dry and sunny. Ooh, looks like it's warming back up again at the end of next week. So that'd be a good week to do some night rides after work.
Yeah, it's getting there. And pretty soon after work, we're not going to have to use lights to ride at night because depending on when you're listening to this, we're just over 2 weeks away from daylight savings time.
That is amazing. Post-work rips without lights, but keeping one for safety on you, always a good idea, will be awesome.
Yeah, play it safe. Keep a little pack light, but you won't have to rely on it. That's just in case you have a mechanical.
Well, guys, that's a wrap on this week's episode. And as always, you can find us on social media. Just search Pisgah Podcast. And we've still got our web store going with shirts, koozies, and you can check all that out at pisgahpodcast.bigcartel.com.
And if you've ever had to plan a bike trip by where the beer is available, then go ahead and click subscribe. Share with your friends, buy your friends a Listen to Pisgah t-shirt, water bottle, koozie, and,
get a free sticker pack.
praise Jah that it's almost daylight savings time.
Right on.
And get a free sticker pack.
So yeah, let's get you some dry bags and strap them to your bike and let's go hit the woods.
I'll give it a go. I need a bailout plan though, because, Princess and the Pete over here, I've got to sleep on some nice mattresses.
I'll go stash you a Tempur-Pedic in the woods.
All right, now we're talking. I mean, I've seen some mattresses in the woods and they don't look like anything. Well, that's a whole different topic too.